Alrighty. You may have been hearing about a thing called the Shemitah, or the conspiracy theorists and preppers and such and panicky people quacking on about this Shemitah business. It's spelled a number of different ways. S-H-E-M-I-T-A-H. Sometimes they don't put the H on the end. Sometimes it's a double T. Sometimes it's just spelled S-H-M-I-T-A. What it is, it's a 7-year cycle in the Bible, in the Old Testament. It's also part of Judaism, which the Torah pretty much is just the Old Testament. They don't have the New Testament. They don't believe it and all that. So, but back in those days, God instructed the Jews to let the land lay fallow. In other words, don't use it for crops every 7th year. You use it for 6 years, and on the 7th year you just let it do its own thing, let it regenerate. You know, nowadays they use crop rotation, they use companion planting and things like that. But back in those times they used to just leave it every 7th year. And my grandfather would actually do that same thing, even though we're not Jewish at all. But that was something God instructed him to do. Now, even though it's a 7-year cycle, the Shemitah itself is like 5 months or something like that. And there's a start of the Shemitah, but what is the real interesting part is the last day of this Shemitah period that happens every 7th year. So every 7th year you go through this little, 5-month cycle. And on the last day of this 5-month Shemitah that happens every 7th year, they were instructed by God, Jesus, the Bible, whatever, to release all debt. So whoever owed them money, they'd forgive them of debt, like Greece has been forgiven of debt by the European Central Bank, that sort of thing. They just let it go, basically, and don't worry about it, don't pay me back. Now, the funny thing is, this last day of the Shemitah tends to move back and forwards. I think it moves about 2 weeks. It'll be the 27th of September one time and the 13th of September the other time, and whatever. The funny thing is, there was the last day of Shemitah in 2001. The US stock market saw the biggest drop they've seen in US history to that point in time, right on the very last day of Shemitah in 2001. Then, in 2008, on the last day of Shemitah, which I think that time it was the 27th of September, bang, once again they had the biggest collapse that they'd had up until that point in time. On the last day of Shemitah in 2008. Well, things have been trundled along, and it so appears that the time is up again. Another 7 years are ticked over, and the last day of Shemitah this time around is September the 13th. 2015. The big question is, will we see yet again the biggest drop in the stock market in the States that we'd seen up until 2008. Who knows? We might. There also happens to be a solar eclipse on that day as well. But when everybody's quacking on about it, you'll now know what it means. And I shall be keeping a sharp eye on that date to see if anything happens. No guarantees it will, but, you know, there's a bit of a chance there. Last day Shemitah comes, it'll be another circus, and, well, with a bit of luck, everything turns to shit. And as the standard response when everything turns to shit, the silver price goes up, and I can sell out silver and clear my mortgage. Woohoo! That'll be good. So I'll be keeping an eye on all that sort of stuff, and I make a point of getting a fair bit of silver up until that point. And then we'll see how we go. We'll see what pans out, but you never know until it happens.